My research is on the boundary between people and art and technology. And I'm particularly interested in the relationship between technology and culture. So things like, how do people learn? How do people communicate? How do people collaborate using different types of technologies to solve problems? And how can we investigate that? And how can we make that activity deeper and more impactful? We tend to fetishize technology too much, and that gets in the way of understanding what it is and what its cultural significance is. So I just think of it as a form of embodiment, and embodiment is just the way that the physical world and the social world extends our mind. So if you pick up a stick, you can do things that you couldn't do without the stick. You can cook some food or do whatever. So pretty much everything that any human artifact is a form of embodiment. So if you treat technology, whether it's computers or these things, then you get past that kind of fetishism. Okay, and it's also true in the arts that technology is this special thing, but it's just another arts medium like paint or glass or whatever, and it has its affordances, and it's just understanding those affordances make you able to deal with it more effectively as a research tool and as a tool for social change. So FACT has a number of communities that it deals with, and I think what's interesting about FACT is it doesn't just do something and then drop it. It does it in a very engaged and authentic way for many years, and the reason for that is to gain trust and to get to know people in order to carry through at a much deeper level the projects that you're doing. The new projects, which are the veteran helmet project. So as this concept, the first was some kind of helmet that would allow veterans to be in a public place even when they're suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, but would be able to shield themselves from the public gaze in some sense. So, but at the same time be able to project some of the images that they're watching as they hide from the world. My work was to, through a series of workshops, was to take that on and go from a position of the veterans being closed down and protecting themselves to being open out and be able to tell their own story. So it's really a process of helping the veterans to understand the subject that they're talking about, so be able to understand their own thoughts and their own feelings, but also to be able to co-design with them approaches and trying to not just to come up with some device, but actually to understand and explore the issues behind why we use that device. So, for example, one interesting idea that came up very quickly was the idea of intimacy and intimate contact between a veteran and a member of the public. And one of the veterans said it's a bit like, one thing that we could do would be something like a confessional, so that you've got this gauze or you've got this intimate kind of exposure of reality. Another example, very simple things that happen every day, is sharing an umbrella in the rain, or asking for a cigarette, and just getting that. It's very important when you're dealing with these kinds of things to start with the emotional element rather than the specifics. So you want to explore the feeling and the experience of the relationship that you want to build up with the technology. And so that's partly my background, is not just in the arts. I'm actually from computer science and from human-computer interaction. So I've used some of the ideas from interaction design and experience design to help in these workshops, to help to unpick and unpack these issues. You think of the design process as something that's diamond shaped, so it goes out and you explore things and then it goes in and you try and focus on something. At the moment we're at that maximal point where we've got several ideas, a multitude of concepts that we've tried out, and the next phase is to hone down on that and produce something and produce the content for that. So I think there's an interesting contextual shift, which is a demographic shift in veterans. So we're coming to the end of the era of the World War II vet, and we're beginning to see the post-war vets, the Falklands, Kosovo, Afghanistan. And I think along with that, you're beginning to see a different set of expectations and a different set of needs from the veterans. And maybe conventional approaches are not going to be enough. So that's part of it. And also, part of it is that we subjectify the veteran. So we treat them as a patient or as a client. And what I think is important about this approach is that it is essentially about empowerment and an active action by the subject. So they're not a subject, they are in control of their world and what they say and do about their world. And that matches very well with the approach of co-design, because co-design is not about teaching people facts or writing down their story. It is giving them experiences that allow them to be actors in their own life, and that's what's important. So, and it's not about therapy, and it's not about social work, although both of those are very important. It really is about this using art as a way of showing people how to take control of their experiences and how they see life, and how taking control of their telling of their identity and their story. The co-design process only works as well as, firstly, the relationship with the participants, but also the amount of knowledge and insight that you put into the context as you do it. Okay, so this is in the broadest sense when I'm talking about technology. My colleagues in the sciences and in engineering work in these very deep silos, and they have to do that because to reach the forefront of their field, they have to work in a very narrow way. But we also need, if we're going to affect society or understand society more deeply, we need to reach into those silos and contextualize them into culture and use them to understand culture and to transform culture. Okay, so that's a general approach. So when it comes to the veterans, it's not enough for me to know about co-design or human-computer interaction or projection or technology. I need to know deeply about the cultural and social context of their lives and the systems and things in culture which affect their lives. And therefore, it's very important that always that that we partner with experts in those fields. And so what I find exciting about this new opportunity is that we can bring in the insight and the skill of researchers in criminal justice who are looking at veterans in different aspects of their relationship to the legal system, their relationship to government, their relationship to society, and give a much deeper and much more effective impact to the work that we carry out. So that's the next thing we need to do, is combine the methodologies that I have with the socially engaged arts practice of practitioners at FACT, and the academics and other workers in criminal justice. It's not just us reimagining the veteran, it's the veterans reimagining themselves. And this is too often the veteran is treated as a subject, and what we need to do is encourage the veterans to be enactive citizens. So that means taking control of their story, taking control of their political and social life, and taking control of understanding and expressing their own identity.